Welcome everybody, and thank you for joining me today to talk about snow kiting in Alaska. There's Tom. Yay, he's made it.
Yep, I made it.
Yay, good to see you, Tom.
And Scott's here too.
Oh, nice. Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
That's
ma'am.
excellent. We've got
And
quite a
Chris.
crew here from all over the States and Canada. I've been getting everybody to introduce themselves in the chat and say where they're from and if they've been snow kiting before. And I was just going to start the presentation with a video to get you guys all excited and just give a little bit more time for people to jump on. So, and then we'll introduce ourselves. I'll introduce you to Scott, the pilot, and Thomas Kiter Fredericks, the AK legend snow kiter. And again, thanks everybody for coming and joining us to talk about our favorite thing to do, which is snow kiting up in Alaska. And we've got some super exciting things to share with you. We're sharing something with you that has never been done before. So I'm excited to share this with you and answer any questions at the end. If you want to type your questions in so you don't forget them in the chat during the talk, that's great. I'll make sure I answer all those, but I'll also let everybody have a chance to come on and ask their personal questions at the end. My name is Jenny Milton. They call me Adrenogen, like Adrenaline Jenny. I've had that nickname for about 30 or 40 years, and I have been snow kiting for about 23 years now. And I actually learned up in Alaska. So Alaska is, although I've got that Aussie accent, and you guys probably think, how do Australians ski? Do they even have snow? Well, yes, we do have snow. My mum and dad had a ski shop from when I was born. So I've been skiing since I was 2 years old. And my dad was a sailor, and we actually sold windsurfers in the shop. So, boy, when I combined my love of sailing with a kite and my love of skiing and put the two together and discovered the sport of snow kiting, it was something special that still gets me super excited to this day that we can sail around on snowy fields and lakes. And then if you're in the right location, you can actually use your kite like a personal lift to take you up the mountain as well. But as I mentioned, I'm going to start by sharing a video that was filmed by Chris Reynolds, one of our buddies up in Alaska. And it was a few, only, maybe a month ago. Tom, maybe you can tell me which glacier you guys were on.
Okay.
I thought that was
Which,
why you did that.
Do you know the one that I'm going to share with you? I'm sharing my screen now.
that should be the Triumphant Glacier over past
Okay.
Beluga Lake.
Can you guys see this?
That is it.
Everybody give me thumbs up if you can see
Yeah.
it. Yeah? All right. I'm going to press play. Oops. Why can't I get the play button? Come on. Technical stuff.
It's that little tiny button on the left.
I know there's an annotate button over the top.
Oh, great.
Unfortunately, so give me 2 secs.
George.
All right, I'm going to start it and then share it.
Yeah, I think this is a trip over the Sargent Glacier out towards Whittier
Ellsworth.
and out to the Ellsworth Glacier. There's Chris and Scott and our friend Michael. And this was this fall. Preseason flight, probably the first or second snow kiters in Alaska going out and having a ski plane. We could get into terrain that's world class away from anybody else, and we could be kiting in spots that no one has ever kited before, or even thought of kiting. So with a ski plane, it kind of opens up the doors to Alaska, really. We can land on lakes. We can land on top of glaciers. And then we know the mountains really well and the weather patterns around here. And here's us kind of landing. This is a glacier, you know,
Ellsworth.
the Ellsworth Glacier right here.
Near Seward.
Yeah, and that's near Seward, Alaska. Up high. It's you know, probably over 5,000 feet. It's probably near more like 6,000 to 7,000 feet up there.
Huh.
Is there music for this video, Jen?
There is some music. I can hear it on my end. Is you guys got silent?
Yeah, we're muted. We don't hear.
Can you
nothing.
guys hear the music?
I can't.
No.
No, I don't
No,
think so.
that's okay. I'm enjoying your commentary.
Yeah, there you go.
We can see that you know, Chris has been kiting for a long time. He's pretty good at his down loops, which is what we're going to learn to go up slope.
So have you guys ever, do you guys do a lot of kite loops on water? You know, we do it on snow. It's a regular thing on snow. And so that's one of the things we'll be doing a lot of is kite looping, but you're also unwinding the bar at the same time. We're trying to keep as minimal twists in the lines as possible. But we do a lot of kite loops to generate speed through the power and to be able to go uphill with speed. One of the best things is going uphill and doing powder turns. I don't know how many of you have done that. Kind of what Chris is doing right now. He is going up an incline, and we can use inflatables and foil kites and single skin kites. Any kind of kite will work, but we have to think about weight a little bit too. And sometimes inflatable kites, if you have a quiver of inflatable kites, we might not be able to bring all three of them. We might have to bring two of them. It just depends on the ski planes that we're flying in and how much cargo load and capacity. And we could kind of determine that for you guys. Once we have wind up here on these plateaus, it's pretty kind of endless exploration on the terrain because all you need is wind and snow. Add terrain, and then of course the wind. We're finding the best pockets of wind, and sometimes you can just go for miles and miles and miles.
Wow, how about that view when you're snow kiting up there? It's absolutely incredible. You know, a lot of people just snow kite on flat, you know, frozen lakes that have a bit of snow. Other people here in Montana, where I am, there's a lot of field kiting. And that's the great thing about Alaska is that we've got such a variety of different places we can go. We've got frozen lakes, we've got ice fields, we've got glaciers, we've got mountain climbing areas. And Tom and Scott are both based in Anchorage, Alaska. So I'd love you guys to introduce yourselves and just give a little bit of your history of snow kiting and what you love most about snow kiting in Alaska. Let's hear from Tom.
Yes. Hi guys. My name is Tom Fredericks. I've been up here in Alaska since 2006. Pretty much snow kiting, water kiting, and paragliding up here exclusively. And I've met Jenny probably in 2007 or 2008, right after I moved up here, and we've been pretty much nonstop snow kiting ever since, exploring and checking out the regions. Scott over here, he's in the background, but he might his voice is a little hoarse right now, so I'm not sure if he's going to be able to introduce himself or not. So I moved here from Hood River, Oregon back in 2006. I was a big water kiter in Oregon. And then I've been snow kiting since 2003. I went to one of the first snow kite rodeos in Montana on Georgetown Lake in Montana in 2003. That was my first experience, and going from flat and then riding up incline was pretty amazing. Going from the 2 dimension to the 3rd dimension, and learning how to go downhill and then jump going downhill was a completely foreign feeling, and it's a little bit different than jumping on water. When I came to Alaska for my first time, I came up in 06 to teach the first water kiting lessons from Hood River. And then I moved subsequently the next fall, because I looked around at all the mountains and I was asking some of my buddies, like, hey, do people snow kite these mountains? And they're like, well, not really. It's the access is really hard and you can't drive to spots. And I was like, okay, regardless, I'm moving to Alaska and we're going to explore. And I've been here ever since. And, we have lots of snow all year round. So it's kind of like eternal winter from basically from Halloween all the way through April 15th or 1st of April. We can pretty much snow kite somewhere, whether it's on the flats or if we go up higher to the mountains, we can find terrain. And so we've been pretty much all of the terrain in South Central Alaska. We've kind of explored or flown over, or we know some of the Venturis and the pockets, the higher glacial areas. That's the beauty of being able to access with the plane, is we'll be able to explore places no one's ever been, and we'll be guaranteed terrain and hopefully guaranteed wind. The higher up you go, the better the wind is generally going to be. And so we've flown all over the state. I've been putting on the Snowkite festival with Jenny and Scott since 2010, I believe, was our first year that we did it. And so the general purpose of the Snowkite festival is to teach beginners how to kite, intermediates, and we teach a women's specific clinic, a men's specific clinic, and then Scott teaches actually a paragliding and speed riding clinic where they work on traction kiting, just going back and forth, and then up on the hills above Odyssey Lake where we go. So Jen, back to you.
Okay, great. Tom, man,
Long-winded.
You've got the life. Seriously, living the snow kite dream. I see photos from Tom's adventures on the WhatsApp group all the time, and he is constantly chasing wind and exploring new locations, which is why he is such a great person to have on the Snowkite Expeditions team. So Scott unfortunately has some throat issues, so let's not push him to use his voice. But I just want to mention Scott Amy, who is an absolutely incredible guy. He is a pilot, and he's the one that's going to fly us in the Cessna. There he is. Give us a wave, Scott. Scott is a paragliding instructor and ran a school and a business up there for many years, and a pilot, as I mentioned. And he really has the ability to know where our best friend the wind hangs out, and to find us great snow, great wind conditions with his plane. I was amazed when I first went up in the Cessna, before I had my pilot's license. I was just amazed that he could fly over an area and compare the ground speed to his airspeed and know what the wind was doing. So even without without having, a weather sensor there to tell us what the wind is doing, by Scott flying around in his plane, he knows what the wind is doing and where the wind is. And I've been super impressed with Scott's teaching ability too. So when you have a team of Scott Amy, Tom Fredericks, and myself, you probably have the most snow kiting knowledge in one team ever. We must have about 60 years of experience between us, and we are all instructors, not just guides. And so we love helping people improve their skills and learn. share our knowledge and passion for this sport of snow kiting and getting them into it. So, as I mentioned, I got to go in the Cessna out to the Harding ice field about oh golly, maybe 15 years ago now, and it was the most incredible experience I had ever done. And ever since, I've been sort of chatting with these guys, saying, how can we invite other people to come and do this? And there have been a few guys out there, Aaron Sales and Jake Buzianis and Richard Hallman. I think those guys managed to score a trip out on the glacier, and you'll see photos in magazines from the past of those guys having one of these expeditions. But apart from that, and these local guys, it has never ever been offered before to actually take people out there on a trip that is guided, that we have a plan, we have food, we have camping, everything's included. So I'm going to share my screen again and show you what I'm talking about. Oh, come on. Not doing so well with this Zoom sharing. Give me 2 seconds. There we go. Way better at hiding than technology.
I was just holding up a magazine here of Jake Buzianis in Alaska on the cover of Kiteboarder magazine several years ago, and that's kiting in front of Worthington Glacier, Thompson Pass, right near Valdez. It's right near our kite festival. So if you guys come to the kite festival, that's a little bit of what the terrain looks like over there.
Okay, so can you guys all see the website now? Snowkite Expeditions. Go where few kiters have been before. And so this photo is actually from that original trip that I did about 15 years ago. You can probably tell by the age of the kites. But we were able to kite right from the plane, and we were able to hill climb up and down this mountain here, and it was one of the best snowkite days of my life. It was just absolutely incredible, and I'm so excited to now be able to invite you guys to do the same thing. Now we're going to meet in Anchorage, and I've written down here the Harding Ice Field, the Chugach Range, the Chorgillo Mountains. There are many different glaciers and ice fields that we can go to, and it's difficult to make a decision right now. We're going to base it on the wind, the conditions, the snow, the weather, everything at the time, but I can guarantee you we are going to find somewhere epic to go that's out of Anchorage that we will fly into. The plan is for Tom and Scott and I to actually fly out there the day before and start to set up camp. So Alaskans have been using wind power for crossing ice fields for a century. Now it's your turn. So in March and April next year, or this year, 2025 is already here, we are organizing 3 different options for dates, and it's a 6 to sort of 7 day trip with the travel either side, and it's open for 3 to 6 kiters maximum. So there are limited spots. It's all inclusive. So the amount that you pay is going to cover the flights in and out of the glacier ice field. It's going to include, we'll have some kites there for people to use, so that we make sure that if you don't have your own quiver of kites, there'll be something there for you to use. We're going to set up camp. So rather than just having a day trip out to the ice field, we're going to set up a cold weather camping. And the cool thing is that we're not having to hike the gear in ourselves. so that we can have, you know, an Arctic oven tent. We can have some better cooking facilities. So all the food will be taken care of. We'll be doing the cooking for making sure that we have, you know, a hot breakfast, a lunch and dinner. You'll be getting world-class kite and mountain guides. As I've mentioned, you've got Tom, Scott and I, plus there's Ty and Gavin also on the list as well, depending on what happens. And we can also set up custom packages. So if you've got a couple of buddies and you just want a nice tight knit group, we can organize that for you. So we're very open to finding out what people want and how we can help you. So, you know, join us for an extraordinary snow kiting expedition deep into the Alaskan wilderness where adventure waits at every turn. Your journey begins in Anchorage, where you board Scott Amy's ski-equipped Cessna 185 for a breathtaking flight into the remote and awe-inspiring Tordillo Range, Chugach Range, Harding Icefield. And once we touch down in this pristine terrain, then the mountains become our playground for the next 3 to 5 days. The snow conditions can be anything from powder to sort of firm, harder packed snow, but it's always a good time no matter what. And because there's so many different aspects, we can always find some freshies to get. So then we're going to set up camp. Now this particular photo, that's probably not the type of tent that we'll be setting up. We'll be setting up some big Arctic oven tents, which will be more of a group setting so that we can have the group inside there to stay warm, to eat our meals. And we'll probably have a couple of those set up. I've got a few people interested in coming who have some expedition experience and they are wanting to bring their own gear. They might be using this as a training camp for crossing Greenland or going to Antarctica, and so this is a really good setup for them to be testing their gear, and of course we can accommodate that as well. But otherwise, we're going to have some, you know, cots, gear prepared for you. If you've got some of your own gear, great. We'll get into that and you can tell us what you've got and what you want to use, and then we can fill in the rest. You've got a selection of guides that can take you further in the field. If you guys have experience in hill climbing or want to learn how to hill climb, we can find some terrain for that. If you're new to kiting, and I've had quite a few people who are just learning to kite, you've got some instructions. We can stay closer to camp until your skills improve, but there's a variety of terrain out there that we can, you know, work on your skills and get you definitely to the next level of kiting. Here's another little video here, a point of view of the area. This looks like some nice snow.
Oh, that's Scott on the Triumphant Glacier.
Right, using an Explorer single skin kite.
Those are the Tordillo Mountains, so that's kind of what that terrain looks like.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So those are the Explorer kite there. That's a single skin kite. They pack up nice and small. As Tom mentioned, you know, weight and gear can be an issue. And so I've got, you know, a quiver of the brand new Explore V3s, which I'll be bringing up there for people to use. Now, our date options are March 21st to 26th. Option 2, March 28th to April 2nd. And then we have the Snowkite Festival that Tom mentioned. So if you want to sort of organize to have an expedition and go to the Snowkite Festival, you can either go on that March 28th to the 2nd option, and maybe we convince Scott to drop us right there. Otherwise, we go back to Anchorage and we can all caravan down to Thompson Pass for the Snowkite Festival, which starts on, I believe, the 5th to the 13th of April, and then the next option is April the 23rd to April the 28th at the end of the season. Now, many people who live in the lower 48 may think, end of April, boy, is there any snow left? Oh, yes, there is. There is plenty of snow, especially up on the ice fields and glaciers. And that can be a great time to go because the days are longer. You've got way more daylight up there. The days are getting longer by over five, nearly 6 minutes a day. And so we can be snow kiting nearly at midnight and still have light. So day one is when you're going to arrive into Anchorage, get your gear organized. We'll have a group dinner and meet everybody. You'll stay at an Airbnb, and then the next morning we will get up early, go to the airport, and jump into our groups to go out in the Cessna once we've made our decision on where we're headed, and then we'll settle into camp and we will get our first snow kite session in on the first day. Day 3 to 5, we're just going to enjoy 3 meals a day, have snow kite adventures, touring from camp if we're waiting for the wind to come up. If you've got touring gear, some skins on your skis, or, maybe we'll have some snowshoes there for the snowboarders, or maybe you've got a split board, we can definitely do some touring from camp, and we'll be doing some photography and some backcountry education. Tom has endless stories to share, as does Scott and myself. So there'll always be entertainment at camp and more. And day 6, we'll pack up our camp and we'll fly back to Anchorage at the end of the day. We'll have a final group dinner. You'll stay in an Airbnb and enjoy that long hot shower. And then day 7, we'll say our goodbyes and head back to the airport for your next adventure. As I mentioned, everything's included just to make it easy for you. We can cater to food requirements if you're vegetarian, if you've got any, allergies or anything like that. We just need to know beforehand, and we can definitely cater for you. Hopefully, you're not allergic to salmon, because the salmon in Alaska is world class, and so there'll definitely be some great salmon out there on the glacier. This will be a camp like never before, because we have the plane to bring in all the food. We're not just going to be eating dry packet meals all the time, although there might be a few packet soups and things like that. The Ozone Explore kites tend to be an Alaskan favorite for a lot of us. I know Tom loves those. I love those. They are an absolutely brilliant kite by Ozone, and this year they just brought out the new V3 model, and that is designed for backcountry exploration. It is small, it is light, it is powerful, it has a massive wind range. It's incredible. You'll think you need a 12 and you'll see Tom out there ripping on his 6 meter. It really has a massive range, and so I'll have a selection of those for people to use. But if you've got your own kites, I do recommend using what you used to, and inflatables work well. I'm a bit of a lover of using inflatables on snow, and I have some great tips for anybody that's wanting to use their inflatables on snow. So chase the wild Alaskan winds where snow meets sky and adventure knows no bounds. And you've already met Scott. Well, you haven't met Scott, but he's there in the background, and he's an amazing guy, and certainly somebody that is wonderful to have out there with us. The great thing about having Scott and his plane there is that worst case scenario, if somebody does get hurt, we have got our own plane there to get people back to safety. Plus, we're also in a close enough environment that if we needed helicopter rescue for something more serious, we've definitely got that. And our good friend Michael, actually, who's a snow kiter, does a lot of those rescues as a paramedic. So We have a lot of things in place for worst case scenarios, but best case scenarios is we go out there and we have an incredible time and snow kite where maybe nobody has ever snow kited before. I've had people ask, can I bring my speed flying wing? You know, is there an option for paragliding and things like that? That would definitely be an option for you. You would need to hike to the top of the peak. We're not going to have snow machines out there, but we could definitely find an area that might be suitable, especially if there's no wind. But I would want you to have another conversation with Scott to discuss that beforehand. Thomas Carter Fredericks, Alaskan snow kiting pioneer and instructor. He's introduced himself. I like to call him the MacGyver of snow kiting because he knows how to repair everything. I mean, he has the Alaska Mountain Products business there in Wasilla, and he actually started out working as a kite repairist. Now, that is somebody that I want to have on my team if I'm out in the wilderness, because if something breaks with our gear, if something goes wrong, we have our MacGyver of snow kiting with us to fix things. So again, somebody that is just wonderful to have on our team. I introduce myself, Jenny Adrenager Milton. I am highly energetic, always have a story to tell, love sharing my skills with people. And my husband's a heli ski guide, an avalanche professional. We live and breathe the mountain life, and I'm excited to meet you guys and teach you everything I know in the time that we have. So if this is something you guys are interested in, press the register here button on the website, and it'll get you put in your details, and you'll get sent another email which has got all the pricing. It's got a bunch of questions for you to fill in. We want to learn about you. We want to know what your dream ultimate snow kite adventure would look like, and we'd love to help make this a reality for you. So you can find all of this information at snowkitealaska.com. If you would like to speak to me personally, take a screenshot of the screen right now or have a look at the website, and that little QR code goes to my personal calendar, and you can book a call with me and ask any questions. But on that note, I'm going to stop sharing and just hand it back to Tom to see if he's got anything to add.
So this is Tom with Alaska Kite Adventures with Scott in the background, and I think everything that Jenny was talking about is I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. It's all about kiting. So if you guys love to kite, we're focused on providing the best terrain, the best wind, and then of course the best guides and buddies to take you up and show you different kinds of terrain. We can work with, like Jenny was saying, any abilities from beginner up to expert, and depending on the group, the group's everything. We could split the group up with a couple advanced guys going with myself or Jenny, a couple other beginners maybe staying back with Scott or myself or whomever. So we kind of cater to everybody's abilities, just depending. The spots that we'll be flying to, I think there's flat, there's terrain, there's kind of places that we can go and play. We'll probably map out boundaries for everybody and kind of have group discussions every day. But the bottom line is we want to ride, and we want to ride as much as possible during this whole trip. That's why you guys want to come with us. And so we want to put you in the best place, and having Scott's plane and his expertise from flying for years and years over the mountains in Alaska, plotting and mapping out all the spots on his GPS and his plane. And that's the reason why we're mobile is, we know what the conditions are, and we're going to make a plan, that week. Anything can change in Alaska, but we have the ability to pick the best terrain with the best wind and best wind direction. And then, of course, our leader, Jenny, over here, we got to give some props to her because, the positive energy and her organization and then her skill too. Like she's probably the best lady kiter in the world, I would say, in my opinion, my humble opinion. She's raced in Norway. She's competed with the best women in the world and showed them that she's a top contender. And so it's always a pleasure. It's super fun kiting with Jenny. And, I think if you guys decide to come, we're going to have a blast no matter what. And so, yeah, so think about it. We'd love to see you guys up in Alaska and show you our terrain up here. And we're really excited for you guys.
Awesome, Tom. Somebody put a question in there that I'd love to answer, and it's probably a question everybody has, is what if we come up there and the weather's shit and we can't fly, that we've got low visibility and the plane can't fly? Well, the really cool thing is we have backup plans, and that is that if we can't fly out to one of the remote glaciers, then we have local spots that we can go to, and that's where Tom's local skill comes into play. We've got lakes and different places that we can drive to, and therefore the amount that we would spend on the plane and setting up the camp would then go back into an Airbnb, so you'd have your accommodation, we'd still do the food, and we would still have some extremely fun Alaskan activities for you. In Valdez, in Thompson Pass, they call me the down day queen, and it's my job when the helicopters can't fly, everybody comes to me and goes, Jen, what are we going to do in this weather? And we're either flying kites, we're exploring glaciers, we're riding snow machines. You've also got the ski resort at Alaska near Anchorage as well, and we will find something fun to make it a memorable trip no matter what the weather. I mean, the great thing is that we know how to find the wind, and we also know how to get out of the wind if we have to. And so yeah, there's never a down day in Alaska in my books. There's just a different activity to choose from.
Yeah. In fact, the down days we look forward to, like in the past at the kite festival, when it's down days for the heli skiers and cloudy and snowing and blowing, that's some of the best days for us because we're kiting in powder, we're riding uphill, we're kiting with our friends, we're getting a workout. And at the end of the day, we go into the bar or restaurant, smiles, wiped across our face, talking story. And then everyone's just been sitting in the bar all day, kind of like wondering, like, what did those guys end up doing? And so for us, there's no down days in Alaska. Weather is good when it's storming. That means we're piling up snow. We have wind. And life is going to be good here as soon as the sun pops. It's just, matter, it's the weather is cyclical here. So it's going to be either high pressure or low pressure. And so that's the beauty of the time frame that we have. Maybe we can't be in the field for 5 days straight, but we could be in the field for 2 or 3 days straight. We could be here for the down days, kiting locally, around the Anchorage or Girdwood or South Central Alaska area, doing kind of local road trips. And if we're out there in the terrain, we could also, weather a couple day storm. We have the tents, we have heat, we have cooking, we're all comfortable, and it's windy, so we get 3 sessions a day when it's a down day with tents in the field, and it's snowing and blowing, but we're riding, and we come back, have a nice meal at night, sleep really good, and wake up, and sun might pop out, and it could be even 3 times more epic than that, but your body's happy. So yeah.
Hey, Tom, I've got another question here from Nick in the chat. He says, how many days per week or month is the wind typically above 10 knots in March? And that's a tricky question, because if you were only talking about one location, you might be able to give some numbers to that. But,
if you have a ski plane 6 days a week.
Yeah, I agree.
So if you have a vehicle, we have a vehicle, so we drive to spots. There's different venturis and different winds. So we tend to go to where the wind's the strongest or the most consistent, or the snow conditions are most consistent. So the beauty of Alaska, there's a lot of choices to have. And if we have vehicles or if we have a plane, we could usually find something. Probably I would probably say, 5 out of 7, 6 out of 7 days, we could probably find something as far as kiting. And, with the Explore kites, I mean, I was just having lessons this last week and 3-mile-an-hour winds. Like the windsock was literally just barely like this. And I had my people riding, like, still able to experience the kite. They're beginners. So light wind is fine for beginners, but with the Explore kites, you don't need much. Like, you might think, if you're a kiter on water and you use inflatable kites, like, oh, I need, 11, 12 miles an hour to get going. That's not true on snow. We could get going in, 4, 5, 6 mile an hour. And then, once we hit 10 miles an hour, we're everything's really good. Everything's at 10 to 20 is great. 10 to 30 is great. Over 30 miles an hour, better have a 4-meter kite. And we'll have 4-meter kites. We'll have 2.5-meter kites, and we'll, even if it's blowing 30 to 35, we're still going to be out there. We just downsize and fly with our hands closer to the middle of the bar, which you should be, instead of towards the outside where you have a lot of leverage, and hold the kite steady. And getting powder turns in 30 mile an hour, with a 4 or 6-meter kite is absolutely dreamy, because you have all the power that you want at your fingertips and all the depower that you need as well. So, 3 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour, we're going to be having fun.
Remember that day, Tom, when we were in Nome and there was like 1 mile an hour and we put 50-meter lines on our kites, and I was amazed at how far we went.
Yeah. We were able to go from, kiting around on the mountain, Anvil Mountain above town, all the way, we're putting downhill, but we went all the way down into town onto the Bering Sea and tacked your way back up to the hotel. Barely. I think maybe you were a mile shy and we had to pick you up because the wind completely quit. But you made it home, though. You didn't have to walk, really. And
that was definitely an incredible day. I've got a couple more questions. Jesse is asking, is there a different link to sign up? Because it just sends you to the registering your interest page. Now, if you register your interest, you'll then get sent another email. And then the next step is to actually email us and say, yes, I'm coming. These are the dates that I would prefer, and I'll organize a chat with you. Let's have a chat, and so I can find out more about what you're looking for, what gear you've got, and whether you're bringing friends with you, whether you want to just book a private trip, or whether you just want to join a group. So Jesse, just email me, and we can put the next steps in place. Daniel's asking, how much is the reservation deposit? We're getting a $500 deposit down to hold your spot, and then the full amount will be due 30 days before your trip. But again, once you email us and we have a chat, I will be passing on all of those details. We want to make sure we have a chat with you. This is a backcountry expedition, and we just want to get to know you and make sure that we can make this the ultimate trip. Yes, the ozones are free to demo and included in the cost of the trip. We have included that in the cost so that people aren't having to, rent it and saying, "Oh, that's my kite." We're gonna share them around to make sure that everybody gets a go of those kites. They are, Philip. They are the Ozone Explore V3. A brand new model that everybody's raving about. Everybody with the V2s are wanting to sell them so that they can get the new V3, because they've definitely made some great upgrades on that kite. Yes, single skin. Philip, they are single skin. It seems to be, as they improve the single skin, more and more people are going that way. Unless you're into, racing and you want to go for something like the R1 or the Chrono or expedition kites, where you're flying a 15-meter, you might want to go for that EXP kite. I've got one of those too, which I'll probably bring along with me too. So there'll be a selection of kites. I'm sure Tom's got a few kites he'll have in his quiver there. But yeah, those single skin kites, if you haven't flown one lately, and especially that new V3, you're in for a treat. Even Tom's been gliding on them and doing some, incredible. They're great for hill climbing. People are gliding on them. They're lightweight. And the original, the first few were all fluttering on those wing tips, and they've really solved that problem. They actually didn't release the 12 meter until today. Ozone just released the 12 meter today, and I've placed my order because they wanted to give it some more time to refine that issue, and they are happy. It's been tested, and so yeah, it's ready to go. Any other questions?
How do they compare to like the peak, the fly surfer peak kites, the Explorers?
There's a lot of people loving the Peak, and I've got customers and students on that new Peak 6, which again is the new refined version of the Peak 5. I know Jesse Crocker's in the group. He's done a lot of kiting on the Peak. Some people, are just ozone lovers. Some people are fly surfer lovers, and they rave about it. I did have a customer in Hawaii recently, believe it or not, who flies the single skins in the waves on his foil. And he bought both a Peak and an ozone, and then he wrote me a great review about the two. And his review was, Jen, you were right about the ozone. It is just slightly higher performance, slightly more durable, slightly more stable canopy there. You're paying a little bit more for the ozone, but I do believe that durability, performance is why. I also love the ozone because it comes with, a 5-line bar that is set up with the brake line instantly. Otherwise, if you buy the Peak, you've got to put it all together yourself. It doesn't come with the brake line. There's just a little bit more tuning involved when setting that up. Tom, do you have any feedback on the Peak versus the Explore?
A little bit. I've flown the Peak just a little bit, but I have spent some time on the new version 3 of single skin of the Explorer, and I like both. I like the Explorer 2 and the Explorer 3, and they feel kind of like different but similar kites. Like you have a lot more power at hand on like, it doesn't feel like it's slipping through the air, and because the Explorer 2 handle gusts really well. They handle gusts and strong winds. Version 3 kind of, it tends to harness those winds where you can get like a real jump, like a water style jump with the kite, because I think less wind is coming off the tail. We have the cord that goes all the way to the tail, and it just creates a lot more stable, less, like Jen said, less fluttery, and but at the same time instant response. So like jumps are a lot higher, more precise, and kind of gliding down. It feels like a water kite a little bit more for being a single skin, which is pretty impressive. How a single piece of fabric can harness so much power but spill the wind and be safe. And then of course with the 5th line system, I think that's the big difference between the ozone kite and the fly surfer, is how safe the ozone system is. I'm not sure, but the when you initiate the 5th line, the whole kite basically crumples like this into a ball and falls out of the air like that. So it's 100% depower. So for beginners, it's super safe. Riding up to the top of mountains and then putting the kite down and reeling the kite up to you and putting in your pack without leaving your footprint is kind of like the really nice feature for the ozone. But I think they're both very comparable the way they fly and feel, but the ozone is just a little bit safer, I think. But it has more direct feel to it.
I mean, I own a bunch of Peak kites, and they do the same thing with 5th line.
The Be
Okay.
Safe, yeah, they
Okay.
do. They do. You've just got to set it up.
Technologies are very, very comparable, but I think you'll feel the difference in your hand between the the speed and the general feel of the kites too. And so, yeah, that's part of this. Is it's a big, I think we have pretty much all sizes of Explore 3 kites, and we can let you try them all out.
Philip, what I do know is I bet you'll have a big smile on your face no matter which kite you're on. You're going to have a great time. They both work. They're both great fun. It's both snow kiting, and I mean there's not a lot in it. And to be honest, unless you're a super advanced kiter, you're probably not even going to feel a massive difference. Any other questions? Here we go. Assuming snowboards are an option. Yeah, of course. If you're a snowboarder, bring your snowboard. It is nice to have a touring option. So if you've got a split board, that's going to be beneficial, especially if we're waiting for wind to come up in the day. But your other option is just to bring some snowshoes and put the board in your backpack and hike as an alternative. But there's a lot of snowboard snow kiters out there, and on a powder day they're throwing more spray than we are, so you'll have a great time on that. Definitely for a snowboarder might need a little bit more power, and they might need a slightly bigger kite. On skis we have the ability to skate and maneuver, especially in the lighter winds, but yeah, if you're a snowboarder, that's not a problem. Gin kites. Ag says, what about gin kites? Gin kites are super nice. They're not quite as popular here. Over in Europe, you're seeing a lot of gin kites, and there's some really nice kites. I mean, you really can't go wrong with all the major brands. They all make a beautiful selection of kites, and they make a range of kites that are either freestyle for jumping. They make all round free ride kites. They make wave kites. Definitely if you're using an inflatable, the wave kites are fantastic in the mountains because they drift down the line so well. They're designed to drift down the line on a wave, and they also drift down the line on the mountain as well, which is super nice. The ozone hyperlink, Philip. Yeah, that's a beautiful kite, actually. I've had one of those in the past, and it's such a great option if you want to kite on the water and on the snow, because you can turn it from open to closed cell mode. I know my good friend Noah here in Montana, he rides the hyperlink a lot. They actually stopped making the Sub-Zero kite. Ozone took that out of the range because I mean, it's practically the hyperlink. So the hyperlink is the new dual skin kite that had a similar aspect ratio to the Sub-Zero. That's a beautiful kite, Philip. I think that's a really great choice to give you that stiffness of the dual skin. The only disadvantage is it doesn't pack up as small as the Explorer, but the performance level is up there. Yeah,
Have you compared it with like a Soul?
Yeah, the Soul's definitely getting closer to a Chrono. It's a lot, higher aspect sort of kite. It's the hyperlink's going to turn way faster than the
Okay.
Soul. Yeah, so definitely if you're wanting something for down looping and things like that, I think it's important to think about turning speed, and I think that hyperlink's going to be the go there if you were deciding between those two.
I flew the hyperlink a couple days ago on Jewel Lake, and it's definitely a different beast than the Explorer 3. It's for that intermediate to advanced kiter, expert, intermediate, advanced kiter. It has a lot of power. It harnesses a lot of power. So you want to kind of be a kiter already, a decent kiter flying that wing. I think anyone can fly it, but I think a beginner would probably get yanked and yarded around pretty good. But it's has a lot of power. I was jumping over an ice fishing shanty the other day with hyperlink, trying out Michael's. He's like, "Here, try my wing," and I don't know if you'll be able to see it right here. Oh shoot!
Oops.
Sorry. There we go.
Nice.
Oops. Well, I don't know if you could see it, but I went kind of flying over it with the hyperlink. So it's a very boosty kite. I mean, if you're gonna, if you want to jump high, it has a lot of D power, so you could really go upwind really aggressively with the kite. It feels like an inflatable kite. It stays inflated really good with the closed cell technology. In snowstorms, I've had the Sub-Zero out versus the Hyperlink, and the Hyperlink stayed completely dry, where the Sub-Zero took on tons and tons of snow in through the mesh and became so heavy it couldn't even fly. Where the Hyperlink stayed completely dry inside because the cells were closed, and that was a really cool advantage that I saw. But it's a great jump up to the next level. I think it has all the characteristics of the Chrono or the EXP. It's just more of a freestyle boosty kite because it moves around a lot faster through the air. And so it's pretty good choice, I'd say, if you're ready for the next level.
Like I ride a lot of times my go-to kite here in Canada is a 8 meter Peak 5. And like what would be like a good wind range? Like if I was just gonna buy one Hyperlink kite, like what size would be like a good wind range on
Probably the 9, I'd
Okay.
say. I think even in light winds, like 8 miles an hour, you could probably still get going with that 9 because it generates so much power.
Yeah.
Like I would think, oh, what kite might be my only hyperlink? And I mean, a 9 is so versatile, even in high winds and lower winds. But then I was thinking the 11 or the 13, and then the 13 would just be more of an exclusive low wind or gliding type wing for me. And then the 11, it'd be a toss up between the 11 and 9. But I think
Yeah.
the 9, you have so much power and versatility for one kite quiver. That would be it.
Have you used it on the
I
water at all?
I don't know if I have. I think just pretty much snow. I think it's like a minute. Like if it sinks down, trailing edge, I think you probably have a good minute to get it back up in the air.
Okay.
But yeah, and then yeah, the closed cells actually do hold. It holds a lot of air in it, and so you have to deflate it through the center zipper. You got to push everything out through the center zipper when you roll it up, and so there's a little bit more management, a little bit of management on the ground. You could use it 4 or 5 line system, less complication with 4 line safety for the 5. And so depending if you want freestyle or if you want that passive safety, you could configure it either way.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a 9, Philip, and that was just awesome because it turned so fast. Unless you're kiting at altitude, think about your actual location. But if you're flying an 8 most of the time, then I think that 9 would be a good one for you. But when we are kiting at altitude, the air's thinner. We might need a bigger kite to get the same amount of power. I've got a couple more questions that I want to get through because we're right at the hour. Steve wants to know, are powder skis necessary, or do all mountain skis do the job? Well, that depends on the depth of the snow, Steve. I tend to use the same skis all the time these days. I'm skiing on like 115 underfoot, and I use those in all conditions. All mountain skis are probably going to be great. I don't know what you call an all mountain ski. Are you talking under 100 mil, or what are we
Yeah,
talking?
102s, I think, or 104s is what I've got.
Oh, that's nice. That's a good all rounder. I think you'd be totally fine with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. One of the things that we do encounter, if we get a powder day snow kiting, it is just like the most epicness. But the thing about it is the snow surface always gets affected by the wind. So unfortunately,
Yeah.
when we want the wind as well, we're going to have a little bit of wind effect. And so it tends to get a little bit firm, but still fun and carvable. And then what we do is we look for areas like in the background there where you've got a nice sort of aspect between the mountains where you've still got all the powder that you can do some laps. But 105 would be no problem at all. Al says, did I miss the discussion about the total cost? No, we didn't discuss cost. That is going to be in the email. When you register for interest, you'll get sent a second email that has all the pricing in there and a bunch of questions. Depending on how many people come. If you want, only sort of a couple, maybe you're going to propose to her out there and there's only 2 of you, it'll be one cost. Whereas if we have all 6 people and everybody putting in, it's going to be a different cost. It's going to be somewhere around the $7,000 to $9,000 mark, and we're happy to customize that package for you. So if this is something you want to do, get in contact with us. We can customize things for you. We can discuss options and go from there. So just make sure you register your interest and get into that email chain, and then book a call with me, and we'll chat more about how to make this the best trip ever. Now I think that's all of the questions in the chat. Does anybody else have any questions before we call it a night? Steve, Ag, Philip, Tom, Jesse,
This is great.
Tammy,
Thank
and
you.
Sid. Did you enjoy that? Are you excited? Oh, look, there's my friend Karen in Canada. Hi, girl. And Pamela. Hi, girl. Great to see you here. I hope to see you up in Alaska soon. Al, Steve, and Jim. Look, we've got quite the crew here. So many people. Steve, another Jim, Nick, Daniel. Does anybody want to ask a question?
Yeah, how many planes you got in the fleet? Is it just the one plane?
No, we're actually adding a second plane in there as well. So we might actually use one plane to take in guides and gear, and then one of Scott's buddies has another plane which has more seating in it. The Cessna only sits, a couple of people, especially if you're shoving all the gear in. And so we have a second plane, but very nice going there, Jesse, to figure that one out. I like it. Any other questions? All right. Well, on that note, if that's all, I hope you guys have enjoyed hearing about snow kiting in Alaska and being introduced to the first time ever having the opportunity to go on a snow kite expedition by ski plane out to remote ice fields. I hope you guys are excited to do some remote camping with a little bit of style and salmon involved, and we'll make sure that you guys have an incredible trip if you decide to come with us. If this is something that's in the future, we will be planning on doing them again next year. Or if you want to just come and have a little bit of a taste of snow kiting in Alaska, consider coming up for the Snowkite Festival. Maybe you want to rent an RV or come and stay in Valdez and join us for a week of the Snowkite Festival. Keep that in mind as well. You can go to Alaska Snowkite Festival.com and find out all of the information there and register for that. But thank you all for joining. It's so exciting to see that I'm not the only one, me and my couple of friends, excited about snow kiting up here in Alaska. It's great to see there's people out there that are my sort of tribe. So I hope you guys will join us. And yeah, thanks again for joining us. I really enjoyed sharing this with you today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're amazing, Jim.
Thank you.
Guys.
All
Great to
right,
see
take
you.
care.
Bye.
See you
Thank you.
soon. Thanks, Tammy. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Ag. Great to see you, Karen and Pam. Tammy and
To
Sid.
see you all.
Great
Yeah.
to see you. Can't wait to see you back up in Alaska, Karen. It's been too long. It's been too long.
I agree.
Yeah.
We gotta go on a mission for sure.
Yeah. I can't wait. I'm so
Yeah,
proud of
okay.
you getting your license and driving those big rigs.
But thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's opening so many doors now. I'll be able to once I have a little more experience, I'll be qualified to go and work up north for sure. So I'm stoked. It's great. It's great to see you. Tom and Steve and all of you. Thank you. Yeah. Hope I get to make it to the festival.
Hope to see you up there too. Thanks, Karen.
Okay. Bye for
All
now.
right. We'll see you soon. Keep dreaming about snow kiting.
Oh yeah, I do.
Okay.
Thank you for the inspiration.
Thanks, guys. Bye.